there is always hope.
You might think you know the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers, but the real story goes far beyond what made it to the screen. Behind the massive battles and famous characters were accidents, strange rules, last-minute changes, and moments that almost ruined entire scenes. Some were risky, some were just plain odd, and a few became movie legends without most fans knowing. Join us as we explore 20 weird facts you didn't know. The entire trilogy was filmed together. The making of The Lord of the Rings was unlike most film projects. Instead of shooting each movie separately, the team decided to film all three parts as one massive production. This choice helped keep the story consistent, the costumes and sets matching, and the actors looking the same throughout the journey. It also helped reduce the overall costs, as the crew did not have to pack up and restart between films. The entire process took 14 months of continuous work in New Zealand. The cast and crew lived and worked together for over a year, facing every kind of weather the country had to offer. Mountains, forests, rivers, and open plains became their workplace. Many key moments from the Two Towers were filmed during this massive schedule. The Edoras scenes, which show the Golden Hall of Rohan, were shot in a real New Zealand national park. This was not a simple task. The land was protected, meaning no permanent damage could be done. Director Peter Jackson and his team had to get special permission from the Conservation Society of New Zealand before they could even begin building the set. The crew promised to take great care of the area. They built the Edoras set so it could be removed entirely once filming was finished, leaving the land as they had found it. After the cameras stopped rolling, the entire structure was taken apart, and the site returned to its natural state. This careful planning meant they could bring the story of Rohan to life without harming the environment, a choice that fit perfectly with the spirit of Middle-earth. The mouthwash for orcs. The orcs in The Lord of the Rings are known for their terrifying appearance. They have dark skin, twisted armor, and most memorably, black blood. This detail is seen clearly whenever they are injured on screen. To keep this look believable, the filmmakers decided that the inside of an orc's mouth should not look healthy and pink like a human's. If the blood was black, the mouth had to match. This was more than just a small change. It meant every orc actor needed to have their mouth darkened before shooting a scene. The solution was simple but unusual. Instead of using paint or dangerous chemicals, the makeup team gave each actor a special licorice mouthwash. It was made with a licorice base that stained the tongue, teeth, and gums black. Before the camera started rolling, the actors playing orcs would swish the mouthwash around for a few seconds, spit it out, and then head straight into their scene. It was a quick process, but it made a big difference. Even in close-up shots, the inside of their mouths looked as scary as the rest of their appearance. This small choice shows how much attention to detail went into making the world of Middle-earth feel real. Viewers might not consciously notice it, but it keeps the illusion intact. If the orcs had kept normal human mouths, the effect of their black blood would have been lost. Instead, with a little licorice, the filmmakers added one more layer to their frightening image. The Helm's Deep chanting. The Battle of Helm's Deep is one of the most powerful scenes in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It shows the Uruk-hai army marching forward in the pouring rain, preparing to attack the fortress. As they move, deep chants echo through the night. The sound makes the army feel huge and dangerous, as if thousands of voices are shouting together before the battle begins. It is easy to think that the actors playing the Uruk-hai made these sounds while filming. However, the chants did not come from the set. They did not even come from the extras wearing the heavy orc armor. Instead, the sound was recorded at a cricket stadium in New Zealand. Peter Jackson wanted the chants to sound like a real crowd. During a cricket match, he asked the fans to follow a simple pattern and rhythm. The crowd responded, creating a mighty and united roar that was recorded on the spot. This recording was then taken into the studio and mixed into the final soundtrack of the Helm's Deep battle. Using real people gave the sound a natural energy that is hard to create artificially. The chants rise and fall in a way that feels alive, adding to the gravity of the scene. Most people watching the film would never guess they were listening to sports fans. This detail is one of many examples of how the filmmakers combined creative thinking with practical solutions to bring Middle-earth to life. By blending real-world recordings with the fantasy setting, the scene became more interesting and unforgettable. The Uruk-lo. The Uruk-hai were meant to look like a towering, unstoppable army in The Lord of the Rings. To make that happen, the filmmakers wanted to cast men who were at least 6 feet tall to play these fearsome soldiers. Taller actors would make the characters more intimidating on screen, especially when standing face-to-face with the main heroes. There was just one problem. There were not enough tall men available. Even with auditions and casting calls, the production could not find the number of 6-foot actors they needed. The battle scenes, especially ones like Helm's Deep, required hundreds of Uruk-hai. So the casting team made a practical choice. They brought in shorter actors, some around 5 feet tall, to fill out the army. Armor, makeup, and camera tricks helped blend them in with the taller performers. On set, these shorter Uruk-hai quickly earned a light-hearted nickname, the Uruk-lo. It was an inside joke among the cast and crew, and it showed that even during such an intense and physically demanding shoot, there was room for a bit of fun. In the final film, it is nearly impossible to tell who was tall and who was not. Careful staging and smart camera angles kept the illusion intact. What the audience saw was a massive, unified army, ready to crush anything in its path. Behind the scenes, though, the Uruk-lo proved that sometimes movie magic is less about finding the perfect fit and more about making the best of what you have. Helm's Deep Marathon. The Battle of Helm's Deep is one of the most famous moments in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. What audiences saw on screen was an intense, tightly edited sequence that lasted only a small part of the movie. Behind the scenes, however, it was a far longer and more grueling process. Director Peter Jackson and his crew filmed around 20 hours of footage for this single battle. The shoot stretched over 4 months, with most of it taking place at night. The location was drenched in constant rain, created by powerful rain machines. This meant that the cast and crew were soaked for hours at a time, night after night. The cold conditions made it even more exhausting. The rain machines were not just for atmosphere. They gave the battle its terrific look, making every sword clash and arrow strike feel heavier and more dramatic. However, it also meant the actors had to perform intense fight choreography while dripping wet, which was both uncomfortable and dangerous. By the end of the shoot, everyone involved had been pushed to their limits. Many of the extras playing soldiers and Uruk-hai joked that they felt like they had been through a real siege. When the editing process began, the enormous 20 hours of raw footage had to be cut down to fit into the film's pacing. The result was a sequence that lasts only a fraction of its original length, but it captures the scale and brutality of the battle perfectly. Helm's Deep remains one of the most celebrated battle scenes in film history, in part because of the incredible effort and endurance that went into bringing it to life. T-shirts for extras. The Battle of Helm's Deep required one of the largest gatherings of extras in the entire trilogy. There were hundreds of people involved, from Uruk-hai warriors to elves and soldiers. Many had never met before. Yet they were spending long nights together in rain and mud, filming over and over for months. When shooting finally ended, the production team devised a way for these extras to recognize each other later. Each was given a T-shirt as a memento. It was more than just a souvenir. It was a way for someone to walk through a busy street months later, see the shirt on a stranger, and instantly know they had been through the same experience. On the front of the shirt were the words, "I survived Helm's Deep." The letter M in Helm was crossed out, so it read Hell's Deep. This was not an insult, but a nod to the exhausting conditions they had endured, often under heavy artificial rain. There were 2 designs. One was black with red lettering on the back, reading Lord of the Rings Uruk-hai Battalion. The other was blue with silver lettering that read The Lord of the Rings Elf Regiment. The design you received depended on which side you had played in the battle. These shirts were never sold to the public. They were only for the people who were extras in the movie. For many, it became a badge of honor, a reminder that they had been part of one of the most iconic battles in film history and had the proof hanging in their wardrobe. Andy Serkis and the birth of Gollum. When Andy Serkis first heard about the role of Gollum, it did not sound like a life-changing opportunity. His agent called and told him there was a chance to do 3 weeks of voiceover work in New Zealand. That was it. He just lent his voice to the strange, twisted creature in The Lord of the Rings. Serkis decided to audition, and that simple choice ended up changing both his career and the way films are made. Director Peter Jackson listened to his performance and was immediately impressed. He did not just hear Gollum, he felt the character come alive. Jackson quickly decided Serkis should not only provide the voice, but also perform all the physical movements. That meant Serkis had to spend months on set, crawling, twisting, and moving in strange, uncomfortable positions while wearing a motion capture suit. It was physically demanding, but the voice was different. Gollum's rasping, strained tone was unlike anything else, and performing it repeatedly could easily destroy an actor's throat. To protect his voice, Serkis developed a drink he called Gollum juice, a mixture of honey, lemon, and ginger. He drank bottles of it every day during filming to keep his throat from wearing out. The drink became as much a part of his process as the motion capture suit. In the end, Serkis's performance changed the industry's perception of motion capture acting. What started as a few weeks of voice work turned into a groundbreaking role that blurred the line between live action and digital characters, and it all began with one phone call and a cup of Gollum juice. Breaking the billion barrier. The Lord of the Rings. The Two Towers made history at the box office. Before its release, no sequel had ever earned more than $900 million worldwide. The film broke that record. The first movie in the trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ring, had been an enormous success, drawing massive audiences and critical praise. That set high expectations for the follow-up. When The Two Towers came out, it quickly proved it could match and even surpass the first film in popularity. Audiences all over the world came to see it. They wanted to watch the continuation of the story, the battles, and the characters they had grown attached to. The scale of the movie was bigger, with large battle scenes like Helm's Deep and new characters such as Gollum making their debut. The movie earned its place in cinema history not just for its story and visuals, but for the financial milestone it reached. Earning more than $900 million without the help of modern premium ticket formats like IMAX or 3D was rare at the time. It showed how strong audience demand was and how much people were willing to return to the theater for a well-made sequel. This achievement proved that a follow-up could be as strong or stronger than the original. It set a precedent for future blockbuster series and showed studios that sequels could be both successful and respected. With The Two Towers, The Lord of the Rings went beyond being a popular film series. It became a cultural event and a new standard for what sequels could achieve. Helm's Deep stronger than expected. In The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, the Battle of Helm's Deep involved large numbers of soldiers, weapons, and horses. For safety reasons, many of the spears used in filming were made from cardboard tubes. This ensured that none of the charging horses would be injured if they came into contact with the weapons during the action scenes. From a distance, the cardboard props appeared realistic enough to maintain the authenticity of the battle on screen. The main gate of Helm's Deep was another notable detail. Weta Workshop, the special effects and prop company responsible for much of the trilogy's set design, constructed the door to be extremely solid. It was built so well that the real battering ram designed for the scene could not break it as planned. The battering ram was meant to damage the door for dramatic effect, but during filming it failed to cause any real harm. Because the door was too strong, the production team had to weaken it to complete the scene as intended. Director Sir Peter Jackson later commented in the extended edition DVD commentary that if he ever needed to defend an actual castle, he would choose Weta Workshop to build the gate. These details highlight the production team's commitment to both realism and safety. The use of cardboard spears protected animals involved in the shoot, while the overly sturdy gate demonstrated the craftsmanship of the set builders. Both elements, although they presented challenges during filming, contributed to the authenticity and memorable nature of the Battle of Helm's Deep. Frodo's almost dark turn. In the first plans for the Lord of the Rings movies, Frodo was going to do something very dark. Instead of Gollum falling into the fire by accident after a fight, Frodo was going to kill him on purpose. The idea was that the ring would change Frodo so much that he would lose all kindness. After all the trouble Gollum caused, the lies, the tricks, and trying to take the ring, Frodo would finally snap and end his life. This would have shown just how much the ring had taken over him. The filmmakers later thought it was too dark. Frodo's story was about trying to stay good, even when things were terrible. If he killed Gollum, it would make him seem completely lost. Instead, they filmed the version we know in which Frodo and Gollum fight. Gollum bites off Frodo's finger and then falls into the fire with the ring. Director Peter Jackson and his team felt that this way showed Frodo's weakness. He still claimed the ring for himself, but also made him a little sympathetic. The ring was destroyed because of Gollum's greed, not Frodo's direct choice. In the end, Frodo did not kill Gollum. The fire did, and the ring was gone forever. Women played the Riders of Rohan. In The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, the Riders of Rohan are shown as a fierce army of men charging into battle on horseback. They look like brutal warriors straight out of a fantasy epic. What most viewers did not know was that many of these men were women. The production team needed riders who could handle powerful horses and ride at full speed during battle scenes. In New Zealand, where the films were shot, many of the most skilled riders were women. Some even brought their horses, which made filming easier and safer. The only issue was that the Riders of Rohan were meant to be male characters. To solve this, the costume department added fake beards, wigs, and armor to disguise the women. Once the helmets and makeup were on, it was almost impossible to tell the difference on screen. This decision was not just about convenience. The filmmakers knew they needed riders who could perform dangerous stunts without endangering untrained actors. Using professional equestrians meant the horse work looked more authentic. In many cases, the same rider could be used in multiple shots, playing different characters in the army simply by changing their beard or helmet. When the final scenes were cut together, audiences saw the Riders of Rohan as a united, unstoppable force. Only behind the scenes could you spot the truth, that some of the bravest warriors of Rohan were women in disguise, proving that skill in the saddle mattered far more than sticking to a traditional casting choice. Injuries that made the final cut. One of the most famous moments in The Lord of the Rings. The Two Towers comes when Aragorn believes Merry and Pippin have been killed. In the scene, Aragorn kicks a heavy orc helmet and lets out a loud cry of pain and frustration. To most viewers, it appears to be powerful acting. In reality, that scream was very real. Actor Viggo Mortensen, who played Aragorn, gave everything to his role. During filming, he kicked the metal helmet with full force. On that particular take, something went wrong. The impact broke two of his toes instantly. The pain was so sharp that Mortensen dropped to his knees and let out a raw, emotional yell. Instead of cutting, the cameras kept rolling, capturing a moment that was both genuine agony and perfect for the scene. Director Peter Jackson later said that this was the take they used in the final film because it carried an authenticity that could not be faked. Mortensen did not complain or ask for a break right away. He simply kept acting through the pain, determined to finish the scene. This was not the only time Mortensen got injured while playing Aragorn. He also chipped a tooth during another scene and continued filming. His dedication became legendary among the cast and crew, and this helmet kick moment turned into one of the most talked about behind-the-scenes stories from the trilogy. The next time you watch that scene and see Aragorn scream, remember that it is not just a performance. Helm's Deep shot with toy soldiers. The Battle of Helm's Deep in The Lord of the Rings. The Two Towers is one of the most famous battle scenes ever filmed. It looks enormous, chaotic, and real, but a lot of careful planning went into making it work. Before the cameras rolled, director Peter Jackson had to figure out exactly how thousands of warriors, horses, and siege weapons would move during the fight. To do this, he and his team used a clever mix of miniatures and toys. They built detailed models of Helm's Deep in different sizes, including a 1:35 scale and a 1:4 scale version. These allowed the crew to see the fortress from various angles and plan where the action would happen. On top of that, Jackson brought in around 40,000 tiny toy soldiers. They were set up in battle positions to map out how the armies would clash, where the gates would be attacked, and how the orcs would climb the walls. It was like setting up a huge tabletop war game, only this one was used to plan one of the biggest movie battles ever. This approach allowed the team to test ideas before filming with real people and horses. They could move the toy soldiers around to test different formations and camera shots. It saved time, reduced confusion on set, and helped keep the action clear for viewers. What ended up on screen was a carefully crafted sequence that felt spontaneous and real. Yet behind the scenes, every movement had been mapped out with tiny plastic warriors. Months before the first scene was ever shot, Treebeard animatronics. Treebeard, one of the most memorable characters in The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers was not simply the work of computer animation alone. The production team combined practical effects and advanced CGI to bring the ancient Ent to life in a way that felt both believable and magical. For close-up shots, especially when interacting with Merry and Pippin, the filmmakers built a towering 14-foot animatronic puppet. This massive structure allowed actors Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan to physically perform their scenes with a tangible object rather than staring at space. It gave them something to touch, react to, and even lean against, which made the interactions far more convincing on screen. The puppet itself was a complex piece of engineering. It required a team of operators to control its facial movements, hand gestures, and subtle shifts in posture. Every blink, head tilt, and mouth movement was carefully coordinated so it would sync with John Rhys Davies' voice performance. However, this practical Treebeard had its limitations, especially for shots that required him to move through the forest or carry the hobbits over long distances. For those moments, Weta Digital stepped in with full CGI animation. These sequences were far from straightforward. Each frame of the CGI Treebeard took an astonishing 28 to 48 hours to render due to the complexity of his bark textures, hair like moss, and realistic lighting. The slow render time was necessary to ensure that Treebeard would blend seamlessly into the lush New Zealand landscapes without looking artificial. This careful blending of animatronics and CGI is one of the reasons Treebeard remains a fan favorite. His presence on screen feels tangible and weighty, a testament to how practical effects and digital artistry can complement each other to create something truly timeless. Dead Marshes from Kepler-Meyer. The Dead Marshes scene in The Lord of the Rings. The Two Towers was filmed at Kepler-Meyer in Fiordland National Park, New Zealand. This wetland place looked just like the burned and flooded grave fields that Frodo and Sam had to cross in the story. Kepler-Meyer is a real marsh with wet ground, moss, and dark pools of water. It gave the scene a spooky feeling without needing a lot of building or effects. The crew added some smoke and used lighting to make it look even more creepy. The actors, including Elijah Wood and Sean Astin, walked through the real marsh while filming. For safety, some parts were made stronger with hidden platforms. Other parts were filmed on a soundstage where it was too dangerous to film outside. Using the real location helped make the scene feel real. The cold water, wet air, and mud made it hard for the actors, which showed in their acting. Later, special effects were added to show ghostly faces under the water. These effects mixed well with the real shots, making the scene feel strange and scary. Director Peter Jackson chose Kepler-Meyer because he wanted the movie to use real places as much as possible. This made the world of the film feel real and alive, not just a movie set. The choice of this location is one reason why The Two Towers still feels real and draws viewers into Middle-earth. Helm's Deep and Minas Tirith were the same place. Both Helm's Deep and Minas Tirith, two of the most critical locations in The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers were filmed at the same quarry near Wellington, New Zealand. Even though these places look very different in the movie, they share the same real-world spot. The quarry was a large, rocky area that the filmmakers used as a blank canvas. For Helm's Deep, the set designers built massive stone walls, towers, and battlements to create the fortress where the epic battle takes place. They added dirt, plants, and rubble to make it look like a real, ancient stronghold under attack. The team worked hard to make sure the walls looked strong and weathered, giving the feeling of a place built to last through many wars. For Minas Tirith, the same quarry was transformed into a grand city. The set builders added tall white walls, stairs, and detailed architectural features to create the look of a mighty city perched on a mountain. To make it feel different from Helm's Deep, they changed colors and decorations, making Minas Tirith look cleaner and more royal. Different camera angles, lighting, and digital effects helped sell the illusion that these two places were far apart. The actors and crew moved between the sets, sometimes working on both in the same day. Using the same quarry saved time and money. It shows how the magic of movies can turn one spot into many worlds. Fans might never guess that these iconic places share the same real-life home. This innovative use of the quarry helped make The Two Towers feel big and real without needing dozens of separate filming locations. It is an excellent example of movie-making creativity behind the scenes. Massive digital effect work. The Lord of the Rings. The Two Towers was a massive movie with many complex scenes, and a big part of making it look real came from digital effects. The film had about 799 digital effect shots. When all these shots are added together, they make up nearly 73 minutes of the movie's running time. That is more than half the film. Creating so many digital effects was a massive task. The company responsible, Weta Digital, had to work faster and hire more people to keep up with the demands. During the production of The Two Towers, Weta Digital doubled the number of staff working on the movie. This meant they had to bring in many new artists, technicians, and computer experts to handle the enormous workload. The digital effects included everything from giant battles with thousands of warriors to creating creatures like the giant spider Shelob to the magical powers of the characters. Some effects were used to make the scenes look bigger and more detailed than they were. Others helped blend real actors with computer-generated characters and landscapes. This work took many months and required powerful computers to build each frame of the movie. The team used advanced technology to make sure everything looked natural and fit perfectly with the live-action footage. Thanks to the hard work of Weta Digital and their team, the digital effects in The Two Towers helped bring the world of Middle-earth to life in a way that had never been seen before. The movie's success demonstrated the growing importance of digital effects in telling big stories on the big screen. Without this massive effort, the epic battles and magical moments in The Two Towers would not have been nearly as impressive or believable. The Forbidden Pool is Mangawerro Falls, the scene where Frodo meets Faramir by the water in The Lord of the Rings. The Two Towers was filmed at a real place called Mangawerro Falls. This waterfall is located in Tongariro National Park in New Zealand. In the movie, it is called the Forbidden Pool. Mangawerro Falls is a beautiful natural spot with clear water flowing over rocks and surrounded by green trees. The filmmakers chose this location because it looked perfect for the peaceful but tense meeting between Frodo and Faramir. The waterfall and pool helped create the feeling of a quiet, hidden place in the wild lands of Middle-earth. The actors, Elijah Wood as Frodo and David Wenham as Faramir, performed their scenes right by the water. The fresh air and natural sounds made the scene feel real and alive. The filmmakers used the beauty of the falls to add to the story, showing a moment of calm in the middle of danger and uncertainty. This location still exists today, and fans of the movies often visit it as a special place to see where the film was made. It is one of many spots in New Zealand that became famous because of the Lord of the Rings films. Choosing real places like Mangawerro Falls helped the filmmakers make the world of Middle-earth feel real and believable. Instead of building everything on a set, they used the beauty of nature to tell their story. The Forbidden Pool scene is a good example of how the movie mixes the magic of fantasy with the reality of actual places, making the adventure even more special for viewers. Edoras, on Mount Sunday. The Kingdom of Rohan's capital, Edoras, was built on a real mountain called Mount Sunday in Canterbury, New Zealand. This remote and beautiful mountaintop was chosen because it looked perfect for the home of the Riders of Rohan. The film crew built the Golden Hall Meduseld on top of Mount Sunday. It was an extensive and detailed wooden set that stood out against the vast open grasslands and clear sky. The location gave the scenes a feeling of openness and strength, fitting for the home of the proud and brave people. Because the area was so remote, the crew had to carry all their materials up the mountain and work carefully to protect the environment. After filming finished, the set was completely taken down, leaving Mount Sunday much as it was before. Today, visitors can still hike to the site and see the place where Edoras once stood. The choice to build Edoras on a real mountain helped the movie feel more connected to the natural world. The actors could see the vast landscape around them, which added to their performances. The wind, weather, and light of the mountaintop all made the scenes more real. This careful use of real locations is one reason The Two Towers feels like a journey through an actual place, not just a movie. Building Edoras on Mount Sunday shows how the filmmakers mixed imagination with nature to create the world of Middle-earth, making it a place viewers can believe in and remember. A director's cameo. Director Peter Jackson made a small cameo in The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. He appears as a soldier of Gondor during the Battle of Helm's Deep. In the chaos of the fight, you can spot him throwing rocks at the attacking Uruk-hai. This brief appearance was one of several cameos Jackson made across the trilogy. Jackson's involvement in the films went far beyond directing. He often stepped in front of the camera for minor roles or background parts. His cameo in The Two Towers was filmed alongside hundreds of extras, blending him into the mass of soldiers defending Helm's Deep. This cameo shows Jackson's hands-on approach and deep connection to his films. He was not just a director working behind the scenes, but also part of the world he helped create. These strange and surprising facts show just how much work, creativity, and unexpected moments went into making The Two Towers. From hidden cameos to daring stunts, the film's magic came from both planned details and happy accidents that helped bring Middle-earth vividly to life. What do you think of these weird facts, and which one is your favorite? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe for more inspiring content like this. Before you go, kindly watch the other videos on your screen. Thanks for watching.